It's Abe Corrigan. He's got Hardened Scales. He's taking on Oliver Tomajko, also playing Hardened Scales. This is a deck, when we started this format, people were all about it. We had our first few PTQs, and this deck kind of missed. It just didn't show up at all. But this weekend, tons and tons of our top players coming with Hardened Scales.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see right away the Once Upon a Times, which are just so good, getting the free spells, smoothing out those draws, finding the early drops. And to me, the big draw of this deck is Walking Ballista.
Yeah, absolutely. That card goes extremely big with the namesake card. There you see a Hardened Scales from Tamiko. Abe Corrigan just going to start with Elvish Mystic. Tamiko with a strong follow-up here, Winding Constrictor. If he gets access to counters, there's going to be a lot of them. Abe has access to counters. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, going to enter the battlefield. Another one of those 3-mana planeswalkers. This is an oldie but a goodie.
Yeah, and we've got our own Nissa tokens. What do these guys think they're doing?
Yeah, that's not going to fly. We'll get that straightened out. Make sure we get the right tokens down in the feature match area. Turn is back to Tamiko now. Going to start by attacking. And there is going to be a chump block there.
There's just all different tokens. What's
wild
going on
tokens here? Down in the feature match area.
Yeah, now the question is, does Tomajko have a payoff, right? He's got the Constrictor, he has the Scales, he's kind of ahead on this board right now. He just needs one of those big payoff cards to put him over the top.
So Tamiko has another Scales in hand. There's also a Stone Coil Serpent. So this turn, just going to play an Elvish Mystic, put out that other Hardened Scales, and try and go real big on the next turn. I think there's a Voracious Hydra in hand as well.
Yeah, Hydra is one of those payoff spells that just, it gets huge.
That'll be a big one. So the turn now back to Abe. Abe also with a couple of Hydras in hand. Going to tap 4 mana, play that Voracious Hydra, take down the Elvish Mystic. Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, continues to tick up. Another plant's going to enter the battlefield.
And we got a plant.
Finally, the appropriate plant has arrived. Now we're going to struggle to get the dice right. Abe, you spend a lot of time in the feature match area here. You must know this by now. Abe, of course, just won a GP last week in the standard format. It's going to be Abe's first trip to the Pro Tour. Congrats to him.
Yep.
Here you see Tamiko's first payoff in Stone Coil Serpent. 5 counters on that.
Yeah, but he's jammed up on land. Missing these land drops is just going to hurt him so bad as this game progresses. Obviously, the Serpent is pretty good, but it's not that big payoff he's looking for. Really, you want a Hydra just come in and be an 8-8 or a 10-10 that just goes to work.
Yeah, definitely very tight on mana is Tamiko. 2 Vivians and a Nissa in Tamiko's hand. Boy, that Vivian would do some work.
Ooh, another Hydra. I like this. Yep.
Abe going to play Hydra. X is 3. That's going to fight the Winding Constrictor.
I like this too.
Abe looking to grow his battlefield a little bit.
We've had a couple situations already down in the feature match area where they've just, all the different matches going on, use tons of dice.
I think it's going to be an issue this weekend. Tamiko only able to play another Stone Coil Serpent. That one's on 4. Now the turn headed back to Abe Corrigan. We're tapping mana. Abe's got his own Stone Coil Serpent. This one is a 6/6.
Jeez.
How about another Nissa minus? The team grows ever larger.
Yeah, and I like this.
And now it's time to attack.
I mean, Abe is really far ahead. Let's offer this trade or just start getting some damage in.
Yeah, Tamiko just going to take the damage. Abe passes the turn back. Tamiko does draw a 3rd land, so that means Nissa will come down. Nissa will get these Stone Coil Serpents very large. 3 counters after we account for these Hardened Scales. Or do they scale exponentially? Is this one of those cards that does that goofy stuff?
No, I believe you're right, where they add an additional.
Right, okay. So now an 8/8 and a 7/7 in play for Tamiko.
This format is so fun. We just have these massive creatures on the board, and they don't even take over the game because the other player's got his massive creatures on the board.
I almost did the Crocodile Dundee reference again, but you can't do that 2 times in a row, Craig. We did that last time we were out.
I'm sure you'll come up with something else for us.
Sure. Not quite operating at my prime level yet. I don't have those quippy retorts.
We'll give you a couple more rounds.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I'm old. It takes me a while to get going. You know that. We've worked together long enough now. Looks like Abe planning out an attack here. Does have access to that Hapshep Oasis. You and I talked about this card between rounds. Happy to see the Green Desert back in the mix.
Yeah, it's just such a powerful free roll for these decks.
Of course, can pay 3 mana, I believe. Sacrifice a desert. Give a creature +3/+3 at sorcery speed. Powerful. Powerful effect to have on your land.
Oh, this board is so complicated.
It could get a lot worse before it gets better.
Yeah, so I think Abe has another Nissa in his hand, and he's doing a lot of math.
Step 1 is make a plan. Step 2 is time to use that desert. And the Hydra gets a little bigger, and it's going to rumble in. Double block, kill the big Stone Coil Serpent. And just pass the turn back to Tomajko. Tomajko finds a 4th land, double Hardened Scales on the battlefield. Only 1 creature presently. Could make a plant, though.
Could and will. This is interesting. There's too much going on.
Yeah, so Tomajko's going to play Vivian minus Stone Coil Serpent to kill Stone Coil Serpent. And this is going to make a plant, and the turn just heads back to Corrigan. Tomajko with a 2nd Vivian at the ready. Starting to trim down Corrigan's battlefield here.
Yeah, but it's possible Abe's going to be able to just go wide enough over the next 2 turns, depending on the line that he takes here.
You see Abe doing a lot of math on every turn, trying to figure out when it's time to push damage. Just like double Nissa in hand.
Yeah, 2 more Nissas going on here.
Okay. Gonna shock here.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just going 3 counters on everything this turn.
Could be. Yeah. Yep. 1 more Nissa. And minus that one as well, everything gets a little bit bigger.
Those plants are huge.
And does Tomajko have blocks to stay alive? Abe's board got big real fast. No Hardened Scales on the battlefield either. That's what's crazy about this.
Yeah, just Nissas for days.
Yeah. So it looks like Tomajko is going to take 10 here, I believe, and fall to 3.
It's 10.
Abe's defenses are down, though. If Tomajko can put something together here, could find a window.
Yeah, well, I think Oliver's going to be able to stabilize from this position. It's super close, but if he deploys some counters with his Nissa, plays the other Vivian, he can blow up the Voracious Hydra, and then he's basically stable. Oh no, he needs an extra creature somewhere in there. Ugh. You see Tomajko rubbing the hands there. He knows he's so close, right?
I mean, he might have it, right? If he pluses Vivian on Stone Coil Serpent, plays another Vivian, pluses that one, minuses Nissa. I'm not a math major, Craig. So my question is, does Vivian give the creature 4 counters in that scenario where you're plussing Vivian with 2 Hardened Scales in play and only 1 target? Because if you had 2 targets, it would create 6 total.
Correct.
But I think where you just have 1 target, it's only going to create 4.
Correct. You are correct there.
And does that leave him like a point short, I think? because that should be +4, +4, +3. Should be +11, which is 18-18, unless I'm missing something.
So you're saying +4 from the Vivian.
Right. Play another Vivian.
+4 from that Vivian.
Minus Nissa, +3.
Yep. Yeah, I think that line would be lethal here.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say 100% it's possible I'm missing something or we have a life total wrong or something like that, but it looks like 18 to me. Maybe I am off base. But it looks like instead Tomajko is going to make a large Hydra here. And just going to pass the turn back to Abe.
And Abe needs some way to push through this last creature, because the board on the other side has gotten way too big.
Abe with a Winding Constrictor and just pass the turn back to Tomajko. Well, now we're going to do work with these Vivians and this Nissa and double Hardened Scales on the battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, this game's been pretty wild, right? I thought Abe was going to lock this one up.
Very
for sure.
back and forth game. Absolutely. Oliver again going to do some math. Yeah, unless you love doing combat math and figuring out if you have lethal, Hardened Scales not the deck for you. So it looks like we are going to go ahead and minus Nissa here.
Yeah, each thing's getting 3 counters here.
Yep. Now we plus this Vivian.
This is so absurd.
How about another Vivian? Fight.
Yep, gonna punch that. And now these insane tramplers are gonna come crashing in.
Yep, just a 16-16 tribe. Everyone's going to swing. So plant on plant violence.
5, 6. Yeah, this is it. I'm just doing a lot of math in my head here. We got the 16 trampling damage doubled. It's 32 points.
It looks like that is going to get the scoop, and that means Oliver Tomajko, despite being stuck for turns and turns and turns, able to pull out a win in game 1. That was wild stuff, Craig.
Yeah, it's just crazy how close that game was. One more attack, and Abe was going to pick up the W there, and then it just completely snowballs the other direction in Oliver's favor. Pretty fun magic. Let's do more of this.
Yeah, I'm in for this all day. I like Hardened Scales. I think it leads to really interesting battlefields. That one was very swingy back and forth, but they can be really intricate games too, where you have to make very important decisions on every single turn. Why don't we head over and take a look at what the players are working with in their sideboards and see how they are able to adapt for the mirror match. Let's see. I think we are dealing with the exact same sideboards. So let's just talk about it once, Craig. 4 Fatal Push, 3 Thoughtseize, 2 Noxious Grasp, 2 Hangerback Walkers, a Scavenging Ooze, a Questing Beast, a Golgari Charm, and a Lifecrafter's Bestiary. What do these players want to do? And I also preface that with, are there very intense considerations about your role on the play or the draw?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty prescient point there. If I'm on the play, I just want to execute my game plan, right? I want my enablers and I want my payoffs, and that's what I'm doing. I want it to snowball out of control. If I'm on the draw, I'm much more likely to want things like Fatal Push and Noxious Grasp because they'll disrupt the opponent. They won't just run away with the game ahead of me. Things like Golgari Charm, I believe that gives -1/-1 to all creatures?
Yes. That is correct.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's an older card. We haven't seen a whole ton of it. So I think if you're on the play, maybe you just want a couple Noxious Grasp. They're such clean answers.
Okay.
If you're on the draw, maybe you want the Noxious Grasp plus some number of Fatal Push, maybe the Golgari Charm.
Okay, I see where your head's at. I mean, look, these players obviously work together. They know what's up here, right? This is going to come down to execution. This is going to come down to planning. I don't think there's going to be any surprises. But saying that, you never know. Maybe someone's got something in their back pocket. They've been thinking this whole time, okay, if I get paired up in the mirror, I'm going to try this and see if they're ready for it.
Sure, I'm even something like Questing Beast. I could see that coming in on the play. The opponent taps down early in the game, and you have a Questing Beast. You deal them some damage. You get to take out their Planeswalker along the way.
Right.
And you just keep snowballing from there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also the standard combo Questing Beast plus Vivian.
Yep.
Way to push through a lot of damage there.
Punch anything you want.
I am still curious about that interaction on the turn, whether Tomajko had lethal or not. Someone hit me up on Twitter. Let me know if I'm missing something there. Maybe there was an untapped blocker or something. That was just out of the range of our camera.
I know I've been in that position many times where you're really far behind most of the game and you're so busy worried about not losing.
Right, you're not looking to win.
That you miss the window where you can win. Fortunately for Oliver, he didn't lose and he won.
Right.
Didn't cost him anything.
It's a fine spot to be in. See our players as they get ready for this game too, looking quite comfortable down there, Craig. You know why they're so comfortable?
Probably because they're just going to take down this event, go to our Players' Championship, win piles of money and fortune and fame.
You are wrong. They are so comfortable because they are cradled in the loving embrace of Carnox gaming chairs, which have always got your back. And of course, you can save 10% at checkout when you visit carnox.com/SCG. Of course, Craig and I sitting in our Carnox gaming chairs presently. Craig gets a little sneaky these days. He's constantly upping the level of his chair now, which seems pretty disrespectful as far as I'm concerned, but
it's my only defense.
Yeah, we've started an arms race. That's the problem here, Craig. At some point, we're going to have to declare a Carnox gaming chair truce.
No, what's going to happen is you're going to come back to the broadcast table, and there's not going to be any wheels on your chair or something. I'm just going to guarantee that my chair's a little higher than yours.
Craig's going to take out the rail behind me, so I just roll off the stage.
Maybe I'm sitting on a phone book.
That's a nice approach.
Yeah.
1-mana elf from both players here. Llanowar versus Elvish Mystic. Which do you prefer, Craig? I know the answer to that.
You know the answer to that.
Llanowar elves all day, baby.
Classic, yeah.
Old school. Let's see what Corrigan wants to do with access to 3 mana. I see a Fatal Push in Corrigan's hand.
It looked like a push and a grasp.
Yeah. Here's a Winding Constrictor from Abe.
And he's taking the aggressive line where he's saying, I'm ahead. If I get to untap next turn, I'm going to slam this Vivian, put tons of counters on my guys, and just kind of snowball out of control from there.
Yep. You see, Tamiko does have the answer in hand. Fatal Push at the ready. Going to use Voracious Hydra instead. That's going to take down the Llanowar Elf. Restricting Abe's access to 4 mana. Makes sense to me. Yeah. Follow up Fatal Push from Abe on the Llanowar Elf. These players know what this matchup is about. Don't let your opponent get mana advantage. Seems to be very high on the priority list. Unfortunately for Abe, missing a 3rd land drop.
Yeah, Abe's hand is very good here, but he's going to need that other land in order to start doing things.
Well, we saw Tomajko having difficulty finding lands last game, still was able to pull out the victory. Let's see if Abe can work some of the same magic on the other side here. Untapped Overgrown Tomb from Oliver. 3 mana available. You see a Nissa in hand. You see more Winding Constrictors.
And this is an interesting choice for Oliver where he's saying, do I want to Fatal Push the Elf or the Snake here?
Neither.
Well, the decision is the Snake, right? Anytime you pass, Like,
right. You're trying to bait your opponent into going for a counterplay.
Yeah, yeah. You don't want to let them know that this is your plan. I think Oliver's kind of tipped his hand just with playing the shock land untapped and then the amount of time that he thought. But nonetheless, this is still just the better line. Wait to see what your opponent does. You have a little more information before you use this fatal push.
Yeah, let's see what Abe does with this information. See Abe having to think. Of course, Abe, Season 1 points leader, already has an invite to the Players' Championship. Tomajko, also amongst the top 3 in Season 1, headed to the Players' Championship. But like I said, these players still want this invitational victory. It means so much to be featured among past invitational winners.
The token. I mean, that was always something for me.
Absolutely.
You know, back in my heyday, I saw a lot of my friends and fellow competitors picking up tokens here and there, and I never got one. And finishing second at the Invitational, oh, Brian, I was so close.
I know. It's got to sting. That's why you just cheat the system, Craig, and you backdoor your way into getting your token made.
It's working out for you.
Yeah, I got a token. I can barely play a game of Magic, still somehow on a token. World's a mysterious place, Craig. So Tamiko plays Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. Abe says, I better not let this Winding Constrictor stick around in that case. Now Tamiko gets to make some decisions.
Oh, and not having that lane drop earlier is just so painful for Abe. It just feels like, even though the board isn't out of control yet, it feels like he's just falling further and further behind as Oliver's able to, you know, set things up.
Here's a Noxious Grasp from Abe. Going to deal with that Nissa. That's it, though. Feels like Tamiko very clearly has the initiative here. And that's only going to get pushed further with the Vivian in hand. Plenty of options left for Tamiko. Nissa in hand as well, and a Hydra.
Yeah, and so I think Oliver really wants to just kill this elf with the Hydra, but he doesn't want to have the Hydra killed in response to the fight.
Right, so he's going to use Vivian instead. Still the same vulnerability, I guess. Here's Golgari Charm. Okay. So Elf's going to live. Interesting little response there.
It was an interesting line.
Abe feels mana indispensable at this point. You can understand why. You see his hand. Vivian. Hydra. What's going to be the play now from Abe? We're going to tap 4 mana. Hydra pulled to the front.
Oh, it's so tough because you want to get value out of these creatures while your opponents are tapped out.
Right. And Abe's going to go big Hydra here. Ooh, Tomajko with a fatal push off the top. The perfect response to that Hydra.
Yeah, basically the perfect draw step there. I wonder if Tomajko, I mean, the greediest line is you push their Hydra, you play your own Hydra to kill the elf, and sure, your Hydras are small, but you have Vivian left around to grow them.
Right.
And you're just
Nissa
so far,
so
far ahead on the board.
Let's see how Tamiko wants to play it here. Step 1 is Nissa. Plussing. Makes a plant. Gonna plus Vivian as well. Plants grow a little bit bigger and just passes the turn back to Abe. Gonna play slow and steady. Abe draws Nissa, I believe. Had Vivian at the ready. What can he put together here? 6 toughness now at the ready for Tamiko. Can protect those planeswalkers if he so chooses.
Yeah, Abe's just so far behind on this board. The Hydra seems pretty good, but we know about the Fatal Push, and then you're just staring at these Planeswalkers that are going to grind out value for the rest of the game.
Right. Hydra is going to go ahead and attack Vivian. Tamiko reveals the Fatal Push. It looks like Abe wanted to scoop for a second there. I don't blame him, but he's going to play it out. Plays a Nissa. Makes a plant, passes the turn back to Tamiko, but this does feel insurmountable from Abe's side. Another Hydra, and that is going to get the handshake, and that means Oliver Tamiko takes down Abe Corrigan in the Hardened Scales mirror, 2-0. Tamiko moves to 3-0. Nice start to the tournament for Oliver, who has absolutely crushed the SCG Tour this year.
Yeah.
One of our most consistent top performers, and he wins with everything. Just absolutely everything. We've seen him win with Dredge. We've seen him win with basically anything he brings to the table he finds success with. I remember Paradoxical Outcome Urza, which now we look at that deck and we kind of hate it at this point, but like Oliver still finds a win very easily.
Sure.
So very impressed by his play on a regular basis.
Yeah, and we saw, the story of that game is a couple of missed land drops that put Abe further and further behind, but Oliver still has to just take a very careful line there. We saw him not risk anything, right? He was saying, I'm getting